All right, Pitt, you've been doing this long enough now to know the score. What is the very best thing about Radically Rational, the podcast?
No doubt, the Radically Rational theme song.
Coming up, a conversation with a gentleman who wrote and played on that theme song.
And you're going to love him for a lot of reasons.
Hey, and welcome to another episode of Radically Rational, the podcast. You know how this works. We're bringing facts back into fashion. We're making simple sanity sexy again, and we're anti-crazy. Crazy is not cool. And if I violate any of those rules, you know I get busted by an 8-year-old girl.
Did it take you all day to come up with that?
I always listen to my granddaughter. Okay, I'm Paul. This is Pitt. Pitt, we've known each other since the earth cooled.
Yes, a couple of years.
Yeah, a couple for sure. You are maybe the sunniest person I had ever met for years and years and years. But, buddy, you are now only competing for the silver medal because we welcome to the show the most positive human being I have ever had a conversation with, world-class musician Tris Imboden, who joins us from his home in California. Tris, we are honored. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing great. Thank you. Thanks so much, Paul. And I'm really grateful to you both for having me here today.
Well, I'm just sorry we haven't done this sooner. So let me tell you who Tris is. You have heard Tris play on literally hundreds of the greatest pop and jazz and rock records ever. You may not know him by name, but you need to now. This is a world-class guy. We'll tell you about all the people that he's played with in a minute as a backdrop, but he is now into a new project that I think is so cool. It's the Tris Imboden Yacht Stars, the real deal. Tris, first of all, tell us how you came up with the name, and then I'll tell you why I love it so much.
Okay, well, I'll try to make it brief, but I had the honor actually of being asked to sit in with Ringo's All-Stars by my dear friend Greg Bissonette, Ringo's drummer.
Pitt, he just dropped the name Ringo. Did you
Ringo
notice
Starr,
that?
yeah.
He just happened to drop the name Ringo.
He threw in Mr. Starkey's
we're like a
name.
minute deep in this show,
Yes.
and we've already had a Ringo drop.
First Hall of Fame reference. That's Hall of Fame reference number one.
Well, anyway, I actually got to play Ringo's drums, and I haven't washed since. Oh my God! I mean, that's like the holy grail there. And so, anyway, as a result of that, on the way home, I played the encore with Ringo and the All Stars, and on the way home, my wife looked at me and said, with all the records you've done in the what is now called the yacht genre and all the people you could really put something together kind of in keeping with that idea, only in the yacht genre, because personally I've played, well, here I go dropping names. But after having been with Kenny Loggins for so many years and done the majority of his hits, and playing with Michael McDonald and many other Al Jarreau and a lot of other folks that are included in that genre, the more I thought about it, the more I went, God, that's a great idea. So I made a few phone calls, and everybody I talked to was, I'm in. I'd love to be a part of that. And gratefully, I know a lot of folks that have been either part of those records or members of those bands. And so we put together the Tris Imboden Yacht Stars. And I'm so excited about it. It's being met with all kinds of enthusiasm, actually all over the world. And so we're anxious to do our first show, which we have yet to book.
Well,
So,
I love the rules here. your pass into the band was you had to have either toured with the original artist or played on the original recording, which I think is great. And Tristan, this is the other thing I love about this. There are a lot of people that, might get a little bit sketchy about this yacht thing and think that it was kind of a backhanded compliment or something like that. I love the fact that you and your guys just embraced it. Yeah, let's go with it. That was great.
It's a huge market for it. Why not?
I'll tell you a story. Actually, after I left Chicago after nearly 30 years, I talked to Kenny Loggins, and he said, "Hey, do you want to do some shows?" And I said, "Yeah, what the heck? It would be fun to come back and play with Kenny again." Anyway, we did 2 nights at the Hollywood Bowl that were with the orchestra, Kenny Loggins, Michael McDonald, and Christopher Cross. And I was blown away, actually, by this whole yacht thing. I hadn't realized it had blown up into such a big thing. There were all these younger people in attendance, and I mean, they were sold out for 2 nights, 20,000 a night, and people dressed up in all this yacht garb and stuff. And, of course, I'd heard the term, and I'd seen the original guys, J.D. Reisner and Hollywood Steve, and all of those skits that they had done on YouTube that actually created the term and the genre. That dated back to 2005, but I didn't realize that it had grown as it had. And I'd actually gone surfing with Michael McDonald and jokingly told him about my idea about putting together a yacht rock band. And he said, "Yeah, we would probably all be better served to just go ahead and call ourselves yacht rockers," And so I thought, well, what the heck? Yeah, I'll do it. I'll put together a yacht rock band. And so anyway, we're having a lot of fun.
It sounds like it. All right, Tris, I'm going to first make a statement here, then ask you a question, because I saw your mind working at the very beginning. This is our first meeting, and it's an honor to meet you. And I noticed once Paul said my nickname, which is Pitt, you're like, so do I call him Pitt or Anthony? So you can choose either one. That's my nickname, Pitt, or you can call me Anthony, whichever one is cool for you. So,
well, thank you. Which would you prefer?
What rings better for you? What do you like? What is Anthony or Pitt? What sounds good?
I like both, but Pitt for short.
Okay, let's do that. Let's do that. It's half my last name, Pittman. Pitt. We'll go right there. All right, here's the question. Since you mentioned Ringo's Starr earlier, when you go back to the mid-'60s and you're just coming up in the music game, you're like, I really like to perform and play my music. And of course, the Beatles were the thing. 1, did you think you would ever meet a Beatle? And 2, who was the first Beatle you met?
Oh man, well, I have yet to meet a Beatle.
Oh no!
Believe it or not. Yeah, I've played on Ringo's drums, but that particular night. And by the way, in answer to your question, he's the closest I've come to meeting a Beatle. He was so busy doing meet and greets with people that, he had commitments to, that I didn't even, Greg kept looking for the opportunity to introduce me, but it never came to pass. Same Steve Lukather, it was the same thing. He was going to introduce me and my wife to Ringo, but it never happened. But I got to play with him, and he was right there, right in front of me, and I'm sitting on his drums. And in my wildest dreams, I never would have thought that would have ever happened.
Do you have any idea how many people would give anything to play Tris Imboden's drums?
Oh, there's a long list.
I promise you that for sure.
Yeah, there's a long line. Yeah.
Hey, Tris, we opened the show by pointing out that you're one of the co-contributors, and you played on and composed our theme song, Fallen in a Hole, which we absolutely love. And I had the pleasure of speaking with you on the phone when we set this up. And you asked me if I was familiar with the story of why Fallen in a Hole is called Fallen in a Hole. I wasn't until you told me, but that's pretty good.
Oh, man. Yeah. Well, to repeat the story, if you'd like.
Yeah, please.
The guitar tech, longtime guitar tech, I have to add, with Chicago, who is now passed, unfortunately, named Hank Steiger. He was actually Terry Kath's guitar tech, too. I mean, he goes all the way back to the beginning of the band. Anyway, we were doing a show in Mexico, and at that point, Keith Howland, the band's guitarist, Hank was doing something for him and had to walked off stage away from his guitar tech station and walked directly into a hole. Gratefully, he wasn't hurt. But in honor of that moment, we were looking for a title for this track. I mean, we really liked the song, and Keith said, let's call it Falling in a Hole for Hank Steiger. So that's what it became.
At some point, we'll find out the origin of Mr. Ceiling Fan, which is also off of that album. It's just absolutely great. Now, here was the thing. I had so much fun talking to you last week, and you're so proud of the fact. I mean, obviously, that is a world-class percussion performance, but that's you on harmonica, and that's what you wanted to talk about. That's great.
Oh, man. Yeah, well, I love the blues, man, and I love blues harp, actually, and I've been playing since my teens, although it's been sort of intermittent. I wish I could say I feel like an adept harp player, but I've sort of lost my lip a little bit because I haven't been practicing that much. But I break it out and practice now and again and try to, blow out the cobwebs, as it were. And man, I've got some great equipment. I got an old Fender Tweed amp, a Harvard Tweed from 1959 or 1960, and a Bullet mic. And I just love that sound. Particularly, the old blues guys, Junior Wells and Little Walter and those guys, I just love. And so I got to play a little harp on that song, and I was happy about that.
I may have mentioned this to you. I played that song for a good friend of mine who is just a music freak, and I could tell that she was just moved by it. I mean, she was just transfixed. So I let the whole track play, and I said, "What did you think about that?" And she said, "That was so good. I was just so scared that somebody was going to start singing and screw that up."
I love that. Wow. Well, now that's testament to a good instrumental, by God.
It is.
It was. Now you do a lot of background vocals. Do you want to do some lead vocal tracks?
Here we go.
Yeah.
Here we go now.
Oh man. Well, I tell you what, all coming up through high school in bands I was in and playing, at dances and all of that, I kind of was the go-to lead singer for a long time. Oh. And this is kind of a funny story. I was still singing, only singing background vocals in the Kenny Loggins band. Anyway, there was so many good singers in the band that I don't know whether it was that and Kenny didn't need my voice, or whether maybe he didn't like my voice. I don't know. He's very much a perfectionist anyway. But he came to me one day and said, "Tris, I don't like the way singing drummers look." And I went, "Really?" It made me so self-conscious that I just decided right then, okay, I guess I'm just going to concentrate on the drums and I won't sing anymore. And unfortunately, your voice is much like it is a muscle. And if you don't use it, it atrophies. And so now I laughingly say, if I can ever cough up that fur ball, I might sing again. Maybe that's where my hair went, into my throat now or something. I don't know.
Just tell me, is this true that you actually became a drummer, became interested in music to the level that you are because of a parade?
Well, I do remember, Pitt, that my dad had taken me to a 4th of July parade, and I must have been all of like 5 years old, and this drum section went by, and I'd never seen a drum section or felt, that power that can be generated by a drum section, and I just I've told the story so many times, but I just, in all my 5 years, I'd never been so moved by anything. But I actually knew then that that's what I wanted to do, and I would do that in my life, so yeah.
Wow, lucky you. Good for you.
Yeah.
Also, too, when you mentioned earlier that in your early days, you weren't exactly against getting up on stage and doing a little singing. So we're talking about those probably mid-teen years, right? Early teens, mid-teens. Do you remember the first song that you took lead on in front of a live audience?
Oh, that's a good question. That's a really good question.
And did the ladies like it?
Whoa, well,
that's the important question.
That's the most important part.
Yeah. Well, that sealed the deal for me. Actually, because the ladies did seem to like that. I remember being way into, of course, during the whole British invasion and that we did. I was in a band that did a lot of harmony vocals and that, everything from Beatles to the Hollies to the Animals and that. And I may have sung lead on Eric Burton and the Animals tune. I do remember though that after getting way into a band called the Young Rascals, I wanted so badly to be Felix, from that band, and I became sort of in a quartet. We did almost all Rascals tunes, and so I sang a lot of his stuff, and we did Mustang Sally, of course, Wilson's.
Oh, you have to.
Yeah,
yeah, you got to, and so I remember singing that, and as a matter of fact, that band. We actually, I was in my teens, we got to open for Stevie Wonder, and what an experience, my God.
Wow.
My goodness. Now, Tris, are we talking about the band Honk?
Yeah, now that came after high school. There was a name band that already had a record deal that was sort of coming apart, and the guys, a couple of the guys in the band were starting a new group, and they had seen me play with a band I was in high school and really liked my playing, and asked me to be a part of this new band. And at that point, I was just graduating from Newport Harbor High School and kind of going college, band with record deal. Band with I chose that, and that's what became Honk. And so yeah, that band, got so much experience recording, and then also traveling. We opened for the Beach Boys, went on the road opening for the Beach Boys. Geez, we opened for Loggins and Messina, which proved prophetic, but really had nothing to do with me getting the gig with Kenny. And we even opened for Chicago. So anyway, that was a great experience. It's a great band still to this day. We still do reunion concerts a couple of times a year. We have one coming up in April.
I can tell that it's a big part of your heart. It's the first love there musically, and that never leaves you. So we're talking about all the artists that you've played with, and that's true of every member of your new band, the Tris Imboden Yacht Stars right now, the real deal. So we got a graphic that we're just going to throw up on the screen right now to let everybody who's watching and listening know the enormity and scope of these amazing world-class artists, because if we named them all, we'd be here till midnight. It's amazing. But Tris, here's the thing. This is a musical experience, so we're all going to take the opportunity to just kind of sit back and relax and listen to the Tris Imboden Yacht Stars.
All right.
All right, Pitt. So are you at least semi-impressed? That is amazing.
More
and
than
they
semi.
nail all of that stuff.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we're talking about the best of the best here. So who doesn't love great music and a great personality, a great spirit? That's why we're lucky to talk to who we have today to talk to.
You have played, Tris, so many things in so many different genres, so many different styles, and you're so comfortable with all of them. But, you know, we're looking at this list of people that you played with, and of course, Kenny Loggins is at or near the top of that list. So that's you on I'm All Right. And, and let's see, that's you on Footloose, for example, and that's you on This Is It. That is just exquisite, man. That's just a groove. What a pleasure that must have been.
Man, thank you so much. You know, that tune was the last thing we cut for the Keep the Fire album. And I remember Kenny walking in with Michael McDonald because he played on the basic track with us. And Kenny looking at us and just going, boy, do we have a good one. I mean, he just knew. And I think Michael did too. And, you know, that was the second tune that they ever wrote together. And the first one was What a Fool Believes, which, you know, was historical. It was Song of the Year and a Grammy Award winner. And the second tune they wrote together was This Is It. Boy, talk about a batting average. You know, that one, Kenny won a Grammy for Best Male Vocal. And man, you know, it was used by all kinds of sporting playoffs, you know, from the NBA to college football to, you know, and I know there was a boxer. I think, was it Leon Spinks when he used to take to the ring? He played This Is It.
Tris, I'm sure you've heard this story, but Pitt and I are both sports guys. We're both football guys. This is the truth. In Super Bowl 16, that was between the 49ers and the Bengals. It was being played in Detroit. And a little known fact, the 49ers team buses left the hotel too late. And they were really starting to freak out. We may actually miss kickoff of the Super Bowl. And there is this anxiety going on that's just off the charts. And this is a true, documented, verified story. Joe Montana at the back of the bus put on This Is It. And Pitt, by the time they got off the bus, that game was over.
I never knew that
49ers
story.
win.
Yeah, icy roads. I remember the roads were icy to get to the stadium.
Right.
So they were running behind schedule, but I didn't know that. All right.
I mean, how cool is that?
Wow, man, I never had heard that. Oh, man.
And I got to ask you about a track you referenced too, What a Fool Believes. Okay, every man on earth. I mean, the juxtaposition between this jaunty little tune here, it almost sounds like a carnival, and you realize that this guy is getting eviscerated. His heart is getting ripped out of his chest. Did you have the same reaction?
Isn't that something? That always amazed me. I mean, the juxtapositioning of that vibe of the song and the lyric, you know, man, I mean, that's part of I don't know. It's just a magical tune. Michael, my God, it's so stylistically identifiable too. It's Michael McDonald, you know, his playing style. He's told me before, he said, I'm convinced that my right hand weighs 1.5 pounds more than my left.
Based on exercise alone, yeah. Exercise that muscle for sure.
Yeah.
Hey, Tris, one of the things that I've so much enjoyed about you, in addition to hearing these performances on all these classic records, the truth of the matter is I'm one of these guys, okay? I've probably seen you perform live 50 times, and I'm hoping to make sure that number grows. But you are such a collaborative guy, and there's so much joy. And even when you're working with other percussionists, the thing that you had with Wally Reyes, it was just such a delight to watch. And then one of the great musical experiences of my life, and fortunately I had it 4 times. How often can you say that you had a great experience 4 times, right?
Not too many times.
Your performance playing together with John Paris of Earth, Wind, and Fire, Oh, my goodness. And I know you've seen this, but in the video that was put out about those joint performances between Chicago and Earth, Wind, and Fire, you guys do dialogue. And all of a sudden, the two of you are so locked up. And at the end of that, he looks over at you and his eyes flash and he shakes his stick and says, "That's what I'm talking about." That must be why you do this.
That was truly like one of the high points of my career, were those tours, getting to play with Earth, Wind, and Fire. I mean, who doesn't love Earth, Wind, and Fire? That band has produced music that's just part of all of our DNA, you know? And God, just song after song after song. And to be able to play it with those guys and with Chicago too, the collective power that was generated by that. I mean, to be on stage, man, I could have levitated, it felt like, a few times.
I'm surprised the stage didn't collapse just based on the cumulative weight of all the testosterone on that stage.
And talent.
And talent too, yeah.
Just straight up talent. Yeah, why not?
Man, but you know, I tell you, playing double drums is a delicate thing. It doesn't always work, you know, because even though you put together a couple of real accomplished drummers who are great in their own right, the subtleties in feel and locking in together, sometimes it can cause a rub that unintentionally that just doesn't work. But with John and I, from the very first day, from the first rehearsal, we started playing together, and it was like, oh my God, man. It was so easy. And it just, you know, it just sounded huge. We felt things in the same spot, you know, and it just got better every time we did it too. And gratefully, it was like we did 4 tours together. And apparently you were in attendance.
Every single time. And if you'd done 5 and 6, I'd have been there too, for sure. There's just no doubt about that. All right, so we've talked about your tush kicking ability in music, but you've kicked somebody else's ass. Cancer. Man, what a thing.
Well, I tell you what, Paul, that you know, I always thought that I had a great appreciation for life, or I hope I always have. But man, after having gone through that and come out the other side, as I have, and knock on wood, it's now 13 years since I was diagnosed with stage 3A squamous cell lung cancer, which is an early stage. And boy, talk about life being sweet. Man, I mean, I didn't think it could get much sweeter, but it does with every passing year now too, that I'm a survivor. And now they're actually, I've been going to Scripps here in the San Diego area. My oncologist is actually calling it a cure, which they're very, very reluctant to do in the case of many cancers, but particularly one as lethal as lung cancer. I am missing 2/3 of my right lung now, but I'm still able and have all this time. I'm still surfing. I'm still in the water, longboard only now, no more shortboarding because my paddle power is kind of cut. And I've been, you know, obviously playing drums, and I do everything that I used to do. And it's just, you know, I'm so grateful. I don't know how to begin to tell you just how grateful I am that I was one of the ones that got to survive this, because so many don't. As a matter of fact, there with the staging and the type of cancer I had, there was only a 15% chance that I'd survive for 5 years, make it to 5 years. And as I say, I just celebrated my 13th year as a survivor. And God, am I great. I'm so grateful. And life is just all the more precious. And every moment is all the more precious as a result.
I'm sorry to interrupt there.
That's all right.
This comes to mind. It's always very unique, or I don't even know the word to use here, but there's something about people who are in the public eye, who are overcoming obstacles of some sort, in your case, cancer. When someone comes up to you, and they'll look up to you because of your battle against it, what's the advice that you give them about living life with an obstacle like this?
Well, I'm glad you asked that, Pitt, because I'm a firm believer in a positive attitude. And I know just how heavily that had to have played into my survival. There's no rhyme or reason as to who survives and who doesn't, but I do know that with something as serious a diagnosis as a cancer diagnosis, it's real easy to circle the drain and in your attitude, and I'm still guilty of it, but I always try to remember, it's a choice. We have choices in everything, and our attitude in particular. And our attitude physiologically affects our physiology, I should say, our bodies. And so I always try to impress upon those, with a cancer diagnosis, whatever it is, be it health or just a bad situation of one sort or another, that to try to see the positive always and approach things with a positive attitude just makes all the difference in the world. And I believe this in my core, that thoughts do become things. And, so you think the good ones.
Yeah. Put it out there in the universe, a lot of folks say these days. Right?
Absolutely.
Put the positivity in the
Will
universe.
it into existence.
Yep.
Absolutely. And Tris, you do have that impact on people. I guarantee you have that impact on me. And it's wonderful because it all comes back to you. I am so inspired by this story, as is my wife. You have now found, and you're married to the love of your life. And every time I see a picture of the two of you guys together, it's like, that's what we're all going for. That's what we would all love to have. I will tell you that the story between my wife and me is kind of sort of similar, but we take inspiration from you. Please tell the world about you and Mary. It's a great story.
Oh, man. Well, okay. Mary and I both had been previously married multiple times, and they hadn't worked out. Mary, for me, is in fact my fourth wife, but I finally got it right, and I found the right one for me. And I actually say that I fell in love with her over the telephone. She and I actually met online on Match.com, and I was so taken, first of all, by her pictures, but then what she had to say about herself. She was so clever and just so, I just loved her sense of humor. I could sense it in what she'd written in the short little synopsis about herself. And her pictures I couldn't stop looking at. So anyway, we started conversing over the phone. And I was on the road to Chicago for months, of course, on end, like we were every year. And so I hadn't even met her face to face yet. But we became so close before we actually were in the same room together. But then, once that we were in the same room together, that chemistry was, wow, man, it undeniable. And I'd sensed that already over the phone, and the rest is history. And now we've celebrated 5 years together of marriage, and been together for 6 now, and it just gets better and better. And we dream the same dreams, we have the same tastes and everything, and it's just a perfect match. And I'm a believer it can happen. And both of us had sworn off marriage, before we found each other. It was like, boy, we'll never do that again. And never say never.
We dream the same dreams. I'm a believer. Perfect match. Sounds like a song to me. He's a musician. He should be writing this down. It sounds like a good song to me. You already got the beat. Right. A beat can come into your head just like that. Come on now.
You're so right, Pitt.
I want writing credits for this, though.
Okay, you got them, bro.
Inspired by Anthony
yes,
Pittman.
I don't know how it works technically, but I want a little bit of writing credit.
You should have them, too.
Yes. And you know, also, too, you mentioned the line there, I'm a believer. Before we're finished today, remind me, because I do want to ask you a question about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame that has the connection to that title, I'm a believer. But I don't want to do it right now. But I'm going to come back to that, okay?
Okay.
All right, cool. Right.
Tris, you talk about the impact that you have on other people and want to have. Well, you are all about passing this along. And I'm talking about the work you do as a drum teacher and a clinician. You've done so much to try to expose other people to the joy that has made you so happy.
Oh, man. Well, you know, gee, I can't help but thank so many that have gone before me for all that they've given me in that respect. And those that are doing it much more actively than me. Geez, I would like to become more involved as a clinician again. Of course, you know, with the pandemic and everything, it sort of shut most things down, but certainly touring for starters. But then those things that we used to do, you know, my drum company, drum workshop, and now Peisty Cymbals and that would send me out to do a clinic at a music store sometime, and it was always so rewarding if I felt in some way I'd connected and inspired a young player. Or something I'd said, or maybe something I played and demonstrated, you know, got through and inspired them. That's just the greatest feeling. And you know, none of us own any of this. It's not us. You know, I don't want to wax too theological or anything, but you know, when I was playing with Al Jarreau, he every night on stage there'd be something completely fresh that he would come up with. That he was just like a conduit through a channel that this incredible spirit and inspiration would come through every night. And he would never take credit. He just, you know, and anytime I would try to say, Al, that was just beyond belief what you just did on stage. And he called me my TMB for Tris Imboden. My TMB. I have no choice. and he wouldn't claim it. He couldn't. And he's right, you know, because it was. Was just tapped in. And anytime I've been inspired by anything, I don't know where it came from, but it wasn't me. That's for sure. I
tell you, Tris, I'm getting chills right now by what you just said in quoting Al Jarreau. I had no choice. Isn't that the greatest moment in life? When you're doing something that you're so passionate about, you're so locked in on, you believe it so much, you don't even have a choice.
Yeah, right. You're completely consumed and involved, and you just become the thing.
I'm going to be really selfish right here because I jotted down, Tris, and tell me if I'm wrong here. And doing a little research and trying to really listen to your drum rhythm style, I was like, okay, who would be his top 5 drummers of all time? So I was like, okay, I can't guess all 5, but I'm going to try to guess 3. Tell me if this might be in the list or if at least you really dig them. Gene Krupa?
Oh, yes. Oh, my God, yes.
Okay. Yeah. Ginger Baker?
Very much.
And the last one I thought of, Clyde Stubblefield.
Oh, man.
Would they make your top 5?
Oh, God, most definitely, man. Those are 3 the most important drummers in my life. You nailed it, Pitt. There are so many, though, that I've been influenced by and touched by and moved by and inspired by, but definitely those 3. And I had the good fortune of performing, speaking of Al Jarreau, we did a show in Meedham in Nice, France, sort of an industry show. And And nobody wants to follow James Brown, right?
Oh,
Ever.
Stubblefield. Yeah.
Ever.
Nope.
Yeah, you just don't do that. And so we opened with Al Jarreau for the James Brown band, and I got to see Clyde play, man, close up, and get to meet him and shake his hand and thank him personally for all that he's given all of us, by way of inspiration.
I'm going to break out in a cold sweat.
Look at
also,
you.
Pitt, here's the deal.
I'm going to step back and kiss myself.
That was impressive. So
just a little research.
When are we going to Vegas together, man? I mean, that was most impressive.
Well, I'm going to go from that to the Monkees. So go figure.
I'm a believer, huh?
Yes, we'll see. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and throw it out there right now because you used the term "I'm a believer" earlier. Kenny Loggins said, "Well, I don't really like the drummer-singer, Mickey Dolenz, drummer-singer." Okay, Davy Jones unfortunately left us in 2012. Peter Tork in 2017 or 19, one of the two. Mike Nesmith,
a San Antonian,
incredible musician, just about a month ago. There's been so much flack about them technically not playing their instruments when in fact they kind of did, and after they broke away from being forced not to play, they did tours, hit after hit after hit, and they're mocked upon or laughed at for possibly being in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Some will say, no, they should never be in there. As a musician, if the Monkees were in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, would you turn up your nose to that? What's kind of your opinion on that?
No, I think that they deserve very much to be there. There are so many, though, Pitt, that deserve to be there that have been overlooked for decades, including in Chicago. Chicago should have been inducted, 25 years earlier. But because of a political sort of situation, that never came to pass. But the Monkees certainly, for all the joy that they brought musically to so many, and those songs, I mean, to some, have so much meaning and touch their hearts so much. Why wouldn't they? I mean, the fact so many bands actually didn't play on their own records. I mean, little known fact, but the Byrds, that was Hal Blaine on the drums,
The Wrecking Crew.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And in fact, the band, except for Jim McGuinn and I think David Crosby, I think they were part of some of those records anyway. But not just the Byrds to single them out. There's so many bands that didn't play their own instrument.
Mamas and the Papas.
They weren't adept enough in the studio. That's a whole nother canvas in playing live, So producers, particularly back then, would choose to just use the session guys they knew would come in and nail it and get it quick. And time is money in the studio. So it wasn't the Monkees' fault.
Thanks for answering that. Yeah, I appreciate that.
I heard this story recently. The sax player that played on Deacon Blues for Steely Dan, he's got this great story. He says that he walked in there, that he laid all of that down in 15 minutes. He left, and he says, I now have the honor. I can hear myself play in every men's room in every airport on earth.
Oh, man. What a great record. And I
incredible.
hope it's playing next time I'm in the men's room at an airport.
Well, I know one band that does play their own instruments, and you have such a marvelous lead vocalist as well, and the background vocals are great. I'm talking about your new band, the Tris Imboden Yacht Stars. So it's coming together. So when are you going to hit the road? What can we expect? And what can Pitt and I do to help? Because we'll do anything.
We'll do it.
Oh, man. Well, thank you. Well, we're still trying to, with everyone's schedules, because there's two guys in particular in the band. Michael Paulo, who in his own right is an international star in the smooth jazz world, but has worked with everybody from oh, my God, we played together for years with Al Jarreau, but he's worked with everybody from Christopher Cross to Miles Davis. He played on Miles Davis's last album, and his own albums, have done really well, like all over the world for years. So he's got his career, and he's a concert promoter too, in Hawaii as well as here on the mainland. So he's very busy. Monty Seward, our great singer, keyboard player, is very busy with his own career. So trying to schedule our rehearsals is a bit of a challenge. We had a great one yesterday, and everybody's really pumped. So we're going to actually get together this next week too, because we want our show to be airtight before we go out and play. I mean, we want it to be like undeniable. We're also pleased with how well the recording turned out, for our sizzle reel or whatever.
It does indeed sizzle for sure. And Pitt, this is one of the many things that I love about this guy. You look at everything he's done in his life, and Tris, it's still all about next to you. Your focus is always on the next thing. I mean, that is a vibrant life force. We should all live our lives that way.
Oh man, well. Gee, that's all we have really is a moment, but we all know that. It's like, for me, I don't know what else to do. I can't just sit and, although I'm tempted sometimes.
Right.
I'm just, it keeps me running, to quote another Michael McDonald thing.
Right. This has been so much fun, and we're so grateful. And Pitt, was I right? You are indeed a sunny person. I will verify that. But the best you can do is the silver medal. That's the best you can do, man.
In this case, if I get the silver, I am happy with that. Before I say goodbye here, all right, I want to make sure about this. So I have a really good friend who's a musician in Nashville, Eric Blue, okay? And he's had his own band. He's done session work. At one time, he was touring as one of the Union Gap and Gary Puckett. He's played with the Wooten Brothers, so he's well accomplished. And I told him I was going to be speaking with you today, and he just texted back 3 words. He's a beast.
Oh,
right
man.
here.
Fact.
He's a beast,
Fact.
he wrote. That's all he said. So, and that's a musician. So,
wow, coming from him, man, that feels I'm more than flattered. My God, and he played with the Wooten Brothers. Wow, it doesn't get any better than those guys. I mean, my God, they are talk about beasts.
well, you're right there in that group.
Oh God, I don't know about that, but thank you.
He's being modest, Paul. See how modest he is? Yeah. I'll thank him for you. I'll pass that on.
Tristan, you've got such a wonderful website, and your new band has such a great website. By all means, plug it. It's great.
All right. Well, yeah, you can find us at Imboden. Pardon me. Can't even say my own name. ImbodenYachtStars.com. All one word. And we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, and you can also get there by my Facebook pages. I think there's like 2 that I have, and then there is a Imboden fans page. Grateful to the people that put that together. So, but you can reach from any of those. You can find our website. And we're going to be up and running here real soon and doing gigs. And I'm really looking forward to that because it's powerful. Yesterday, we were just blowing our own minds. Wow, everybody's so excited. And everybody's, these are all veterans, man. They've been at it for a long time. But the chemistry is just really good with our band.
Well, make sure there are Texas stops because we will be there for sure. This is great. Tris, you're all about next, as we said. We are too, so we're hoping there's going to be a next conversation. This has been beyond wonderful. I was having a pretty good Friday to begin with, to tell you the truth. We're recording this on a Friday. But it just got way better. And you're just an absolute inspiration, a monstrous musician, a better human being. Hi to Mary. This has just made me feel better about, everything.
Oh, man, thank you. Well, I had a blast, you guys. Thank you so much for taking the time. And please give your wife my best too, Paul. And Pitt, it's so great to meet you.
Good to meet you too. I'll give my wife my best, or your best also. So she'll see that also.
I sure will.
She'll enjoy this conversation, yes.
Tristan, and again, know this, that is the best backdrop that we've ever had for a guest here on Radically Rational. And it's also the most dramatic lighting. So you just won across the board today, and thank you.
I'm so glad it worked out. All right, because I was kind of banished to my drum room. Yeah. So, all right.
Tris, be well, and thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you, my friends.
Yes, awesome.
Bravo. Man,
I'm kind of jacked up
run
now.
through a wall right now, you know?
I want to go do something really worth it, you know? I want to go make a difference.
You know what I was about to say? To take a page out of his book, just go do something good. That's the best tribute you could ever pay him. Just go do something good.
You know, I heard the line earlier this week. Just someone reminded me, good things happen to good people. And Tris is you can tell he's a good person. He's a role model. You know, some people don't like to take on that phrase role model. He is inspirational. I don't know if he's spiritual. I don't know if he's religious, but he's definitely spiritual. There's so much in tune about him that I just really love. That's the first meeting for me, and I really enjoyed it. I'll put it that way. I enjoyed it.
We're enjoying you. Now, you've been doing this long enough now. What do you think about Radically Rational? You kind of fallen into this thing a little bit?
Yeah, I like it.
We like
I'll put it that way.
Sure.
Yeah, I like it. Because it's not pigeonholed into anything in particular. Radically Rational, the podcast.
Yeah, we can apply that to anything, right?
You really can apply it to anything. It can be music, it can be politics, it can be religion, it can be anything down home. Yeah. It can be worldwide.
Well, we're kind of proud of our website as well, so we want to invite everybody to visit at radicallyrational.com. We've got a news opinion blog, we've got a sports opinion blog, we have daily videos, we've archived all of these wonderful podcasts, including now something that's like at the front of the parade, the one we just did with Tris Imboden. It's just a lot of fun. We have frequent contributions from Anthony Pittman, which we appreciate. And again, we don't want to be heavy-handed about this, because one thing we don't do is we don't take ourselves seriously at all. This is kind of an entertainment vehicle.
Gotta have fun in the process.
For sure. But then we take the subject matter seriously sometime. But this is kind of what launched this. We need to return to a fact-based world. This is getting crazy. We are detached from facts right now. So our goal is to bring facts back into fashion. We're going to make simple sanity sexy again. And crazy, no can do.
I like the way you say it, Paul. That's the truth.
Thanks again to Tris Imboden. Pitt, thank you as always.
Paul.
Thanks to everybody here at Game Day Media. It's like the best podcast production house on earth. Thank you again. We'll see you soon on Radically Rational.